Hello and welcome everyone back for another backlog review. I'm HatTopGaming. Today's episode is all about the Biker Gang DLC of GTA 4 and the Lost and the Damned. After having beat GTA 4 again just 2 years ago, I decided now was time to finally go and play the DLCs I had never played before. And with this one being viewed as negatively across the board online, I wanted to start here and get to the bottom of why so many people seem to scoff at the mention of this DLC. As always, we'll be going over the same three things in story, gameplay, and performance on the Steam Deck before giving the game a rating out of 10. And don't forget to stick around until the end of the video for a sneak peek of my next review. But with all that out of the way, let's begin. Starting off with the story, we are placed in the shoes of Johnny Boy, the vice president of the Lost chapter based out of Alderney. We open up the game with the president of the chapter, Billy, coming out of rehab to take back control of the chapter. And immediately we see how Billy is riled up and ready to not only take back control from Johnny, but undo most of almost everything he's done since he's been away. Johnny's put in between a rock and a hard place where he clearly expresses his concern with Billy's increasingly rash and unjust decisions, but follows his leader as a good soldier does.
Others for life, lost forever. In these perilous times, it's more important than ever that you follow your leader, and that is me. Remember. Yeah.
Even in the face of plans he sees flaws in. Because in this gang, your brother's first, and being your brother means you follow your leader until he's either dead or in jail. One thing leads to another, and eventually leads Johnny and the Lost to get recruited by Ray, a capo in the Pegorino crime family, to steal some diamonds from Gay Tony. Things, of course, go south, and we have to deal with the fallout that happens, alongside the fact that there's a clear power struggle going on that happens within the Lost that leads to an all-out civil war. All in all, it's a very dramatic but yet short contained story within the GTA universe that lies nicely in between the main story alongside other DLC in the Ballad of Gay Tony. Moving on over to gameplay, it's, well, GTA 4. I don't think I need to bore you with the details of how GTA works and its open world and so on, so I'll just tell you about the differences from the main game and this one. There's a few more weapons added like the grenade launcher, pipe bombs, and an auto pistol. Bike mechanics have been overhauled as to make them both easier to handle, and there's less cause for concern when riding them, meaning you won't go flying 50 feet in the air every time you accidentally hit a curb. There's a new gameplay element where you get to get into combat with other members of the Lost, and they have their skills leveled up upon every completed mission. You can even call in some enforcers to help you out in both missions and just when you're going around the open world. You, of course, get some unique stranger interactions like the main game, and you will be able to participate in races and gang war activities. All very simple GTA stuff, I'm sure you're all aware of, how it works, and how these things go. So, if you have played GTA 4 before, it's just more of the same, just slightly tweaked and better, in my opinion. Moving on to performance real quick, the game ran smoothly at a steady 60 frames per second, and while I didn't encounter any real bugs or glitches while playing, I did get kicked out of the Rockstar services while waking the Steam Deck up from sleep mode one time, so I had to log back in and I got kicked out of the session I was in, and for some reason my game didn't save properly early on, so I had to redo two missions. Besides those two isolated incidents, I didn't have any issues and the game ran fine. It had even better loading times than the base game, I felt like, so I will note the game has pretty good checkpoints, as missions that are pretty long with lots of shooting have multiple points, so you can really just hop back in rather than having to restart the whole mission over and over again, which is really nice. I've always been a big fan of gang slash mob stories, and I was a big fan of Sons of Anarchy, so of course I did have some bias towards this kind of story. But even with that said, there are clear issues with it. The first one being a complete lack of context to everything going on with the Lost. This could have been solved very easily with a very basic narration or just some expository dialogue. But instead, we're thrusted into the middle of the story, so the actions of Billy feel like they come out of nowhere. And while that is the intended feel of the story, it makes the player feel lost beyond what is just like what's intended, as the clear tension between Billy and Johnny has no explanation as to why. While you can't go out of your way to find some tidbits of lore, it still leaves a lot up to the imagination to fill in the blanks. The second issue is the overall pacing. At first, things start off fine with Billy coming out of jail, making several decisions to show he's back, yada yada yada. You do some smaller missions that introduce you and flesh out certain characters, and then out of nowhere, everything just goes to shit and the Lost gets into a civil war with itself. Meanwhile, you're doing back alley drug deals with Elizabetha for the rest of the game before it just ends with the final storyline centered around the diamond heist that connects all the characters and the stories, and even that just kind of comes and go very quickly. The game lacks any real depth story wise, and it desperately needed more missions to flesh out not only the relationship between Johnny and the Lost and its members, but also to help separate the major plot points going on with the game. GTA has never bothered to make actual timeline of how quickly events are supposed to happen or unfold in its story, so why not take your time here to better illustrate what's going on and why things are happening as they are? It just leaves a lot to be desired story wise, and it kind of just makes the whole experience less for it. Thankfully, before starting this DLC, the only things I really heard up to this point were just negative things. Nothing in particular, but just that the DLC was trash in comparison to the Ballad of Gay Tony, which I also never played, so I really didn't have any expectations going into this. After about 8 hours of playtime and 3 achievements unlocked, how would I rate this DLC? Well, for what it is, I can say I enjoyed it and I was interested to see what was going to happen next, but I was left confused at times and ultimately still felt a bit let down from what started off as a promising premise. The DLC goes by rather fast, and nothing really sticks with you afterwards. Another unfortunate case of missed potential, in my opinion. I'm gonna give this DLC a 6 out of 10, not because I think it's bad, but because I imagine it will leave many of you wanting more at the very least. Confused as to why things go down the way they do. Also, just for those of you who have played it, the final mission is just complete bullshit. Like, how the fuck is that the solution to their problem? That would only make things a million times worse, but whatever. I think, again, this is just a big case of missed potential for me, and I think that's the worst part about it. But anyways, guys, that's gonna do it for me today. I hope you all enjoyed today's review on the Lost in the Dam DLC. Let me know if you plan to play it for yourself, or if you already have. Let me know what you thought about it. Did you like it? Did you not? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section down below. Don't forget to follow me on social media to keep up to date with everything going on with the channel. I also restarted Discord if you guys are interested in joining that. I am HatTopGaming. Thanks once again for tuning in. I will see you all later. Peace.
I remember when I was born in a dried up lake bed. It was a big, dead tree. Dozens of my kind crawling around like rats. But I wasn't like them. I was a rat of another kind. My vision blurred. I don't know what happened before that. I could remember only one thing. A name. Sticks was the only thing I could think of.